Okay, so I wanted to give a quick house update. So as I mentioned before, we went to go and view the house and we realized that it's actually in much better condition than we thought it was. I think because we had seen so many houses that day, it kind of blurred into one. So we have decided to increase our offer, and essentially we went back to the estate agent, increased our offer. So now we've offered 7k under the asking price. Before we offered like 20k under. Which like a few people kind of did like 15, I would say 10k under. So now we've offered 7k under, which we still think it's fair because we were looking at, you know, if we replace everything, could we still sell it at a certain price where, you know, we wouldn't end up losing money, and we calculated that we probably can. So the maximum we would probably go is 5k under the offer, but we've gone with 7k at the moment to see what they say. So the estate agent took it to the seller, so she is actually happy with the offer, but because she's getting a divorce, she has to check with the partner, and apparently they're not on the best speaking terms at the moment. So basically we have to wait to see if the partner is also happy with the offer, and she actually has to go through her solicitor to go through that as well. So basically the estate agent was like, yeah, it may be a few days before you hear back, which is fine because we're not in too much of a rush at the moment anyway, because it just means that we get to save much more for things like changing the boiler and the windows and stuff like that. So I'm kind of happy with that. Hopefully the partner is also happy with our offer. So yeah, if it's God's will for us to have this house, then hopefully the process will be smooth, and if it isn't, then we honestly just pray for patience to be able to wait for the next one. But yeah, I'm happy, and we'll see what happens. We just got to be patient and wait. It has been a few weeks since I last filmed, and I was talking about the fact that we would be making an offer on this house. So we made the offer, and I think I mentioned that because they're getting divorced, you know, they have to go through their solicitors to see, you know, who's happy. So the estate agent said that they would get back to me within the week. So got to the end of the week, hadn't heard anything, and then we thought, okay, we'll wait till Monday to hear something, and they still hadn't got in contact. So I called them because I was like, can you just let us know like what's going on? And so they said they'll let us know tomorrow because they're going to be making their decision. So it gets to Tuesday now, and then they call me up and they were basically like, yeah, unfortunately there was also someone else who had offered just slightly above you, and they've decided to go for them. So I'm not gonna lie, at that point, obviously considering the fact that I'm also pregnant, I was like, okay, thanks for letting me know. But I was so upset. I literally cried. Like, I cried. I was so upset. I know it's partly because of the hormones, but I was just like, oh, we're gonna have to start this process all over again. And I'm like, okay, this is now the first hurdle. And yeah, I wasn't happy. And it's not even like the house was perfect. Like, it actually wasn't, because Yinka even felt that the rooms were a bit too small because of the way they'd put it in the floor plan. He was like, yeah, they've kind of deceived people a little here. So he already had some small reservations. I just really liked it because of the location. The house itself wasn't actually perfect, but you know, you can, I'm one of those people where like, I know that you can improve a house, but you can't improve a location. So for me, I was like, well, even if the house isn't perfect, I could live with that as long as the location is great. So I think that was probably why I was upset the most, because especially the location we were looking at, the houses around those areas are actually really expensive. They're really expensive. They're kind of like out of our price range. So the only way that we could potentially get a house in that area is if the house does need a little bit of work. And in that, you know, that house, windows, boilers were the most things. But they were still kind of looking for you know, a decent amount. So yeah, I was upset. We then had to go back to the drawing board, and I think it was like maybe like a week or 2 weeks that we didn't view any houses, because honestly I couldn't be bothered. I'm not gonna, like, if I'm truly being honest, I was like, I don't want to do this again. I still feel like I still feel really upset about that house. So even when Yinka would be sending me houses and he's like, do you want to view this? I'd be like, no. I'd be like, no, don't want it, don't like it, don't like the location. So I was being quite stubborn because, yeah, I was upset about that house. But we then saw another house that came up. Actually, there was a house that we were going to see, but we already knew that it was quite old. It needed work. And the amount that they were asking for, Yinka was like, yeah, we're not going to view that house because the amount they're asking is ridiculous based on, you know, the work that was needed. So we decided to leave it. But the location was very similar to the other house. So I kind of kept my eye on it. And then all of a sudden, last week, the estate agent called me. It was another estate agent, and basically said, oh no, he didn't call me. They messaged me. They text you and then they email you as well, and said like the price has been reduced. Like, do you actually want to view it? Because we were going to view it, and then we just cancelled the viewing because we were like, actually, we don't think there's a point. So he said the price has been reduced. Their asking price had been reduced by 10%. So we were like, okay, let's just go and view it. And then we did some research before. Yinka had done quite a bit of research because I didn't want to get my hopes up. Like, if I'm being honest, I did not want to get my hopes up. I knew that the area was good, but I was like, well, let's just go. But Yinka was like, I think I actually have a good feeling about this house. So we went to view the house on Saturday, and it's quite an interesting house in that it's a bit quirky. Like, it has a front and a back garden, so I thought that was interesting. And the house itself, they lived in it for about 40 years. It's a probate property, so obviously it means that someone's passed away from that house, but they've been there for 40 years. The children basically are trying to sell the property, so they're basically just looking to, that's why they lowered the price, because obviously the price that they were asking for, people weren't really viewing it, and so they just decided to lower the price because they just want to get rid. They're not necessarily looking for like the most amount of money, which is different to the other house we were looking at, because obviously they were getting divorced, so they were just trying to get as much money as possible. Whereas this one, they're more about like, we just want to sell it. So we looked at the house. It does need work because obviously they've been there for 40 years. One of the good things though is that it has things like double glazing. However, we'd need to change the boiler, carpets, just, you know, renovate. But Yinka doesn't seem to mind because he's very much a DIY person anyway. My only concern is the fact that we have a baby on the way, and I was like, if we take this, by the time we like get all the paperwork done, obviously if it's accepted, the baby will probably be born at this point. So I'm like, how are we going to navigate having a newborn and then having this project? He seems to think he'll be fine because he'll just do everything pretty much, and, you know, get people in that need to be in, you know, like, you know, the relevant contractors. But I don't know. He's very optimistic, Yinka. He's a very optimistic kind of person. And I'm kind of more of a realistic person where I'm like, would that work? But the asking price is very attractive, and where the area is, if you do it up, we could definitely make money. Like, based on the asking price and based on the renovations, we could definitely make money if we decided to sell it. Not that we would, because this is like our family house. We're not looking to make money on this, but it's just good to know that we would, just because of the area. So we decided to make an offer, and we offered at the asking price. So what they've said is that we need to talk to their mortgage specialist or something, just for them to check like our finances and check. The estate agent did try to tell me that like, oh, they've had quite a lot of interest. I don't know if that's true, to be honest, because they had the open day on the Saturday, and I thought in an open day you would see people who had viewed it before you and after you, and we were there for some time. Like, after we viewed the property, we like went and we walked around the area, came back, and yeah, there was no one. And even before us, it didn't look like there was anyone before us because the estate agent was waiting for us outside. So I don't know if they got a lot of interest. Don't really know why she mentioned that. but we'll see. We have the call on Friday, so I reckon we probably won't find out until next week if they do accept our offer, or obviously if someone else is offered above, then yeah, there is that. I'm kind of also thinking, like, if we don't get this place, whether it's just worth us maybe looking at increasing our budget, and if we do that, it just means that we would want to get a bigger deposit. So potentially we might end up waiting until either towards the end of the year or after the baby is born. I didn't really want to move with a newborn though, but it just looks like whether we get this house or not, it looks like we're going to end up having to do that. So there's things to think about, but we're still in a blessed situation, like, because we're not renting anymore, we can take our time. We have the flexibility to look for a house that, you know, God has planned for us essentially, and if it's not in God's will, then it's not in God's will, and we have to accept that. So yeah, we're definitely in a blessed position where we can have the flexibility to think about when we want to move and where we want to move to. So I am happy about that. But that's a little housing update for you. Okay, so a really quick update. We had a call with the mortgage person from the estate agent just to check, you know, that we're basically eligible to be able to buy the house. And then the estate agent called us today, so they asked, obviously because it's a probate property, they had to like deliberate. Apparently it's 4 siblings, and they have kind of counter offered, and they've asked whether we would potentially do 5k more. And so luckily, like, when the estate agent called, Yinka was right next to me, so I kind of looked at Yinka and he was like, yeah, that's fine, because to be honest, the asking price, because they've lowered the asking price, we knew that actually it was already quite a good deal anyway, and obviously they want to get it sold. They're not really looking for too much. So yeah, we said we would accept that, and we're happy to offer that. So we will find out tomorrow if we're going to be getting a house, and then that means the journey is just starting, because there is going to be work to be done. But yeah, I'm excited because our house viewing stage might finally be over. And I think in total, I want to say we've looked at like 16 properties, I would say. It's been over a couple of months, but by God's grace, it might be coming to an end.